Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Elivaras, and welcome to Divinity Original Sin 2. Divinity Original Sin 2 is a turn-based / D&D style game published by Larian Studios and released in 2017. It's received numerous updates since then. We are playing on the Definitive Edition. This game is obviously not Battle for Wesnoth. It will not interfere with the Wesnoth content, which is going to continue to release once a week, every weekend. This series will release once a week during the week, and so we'll kind of have interleaving episodes in that way. This series is going to be a co-op Let's Play with my good friend Redemption.
How's it going, guys?
Alright, so Divinity Original Sin 2, as I said, a mix of turn-based combat, D&D. If you like D&D, you'll really like this game. I'm playing it because it's got some similarities to Wesnoth in its turn-based combat, and I'm like a big fan of strategy, tactical games, and so is Redemption, so this is a game that we both really enjoy, and I hope you guys will enjoy as well, and may give a chance. In my opinion, it's one of the better games that's released in the past few years, and it's got so much strategical depth. So as I said, if you're into D&D and turn-based combat and such, you probably really like this game. We are also using a quite popular but not yet released overhaul mod called Epic Encounters 2 that has been in development for over 2 years and has been in a beta for quite a while, as the devs are trying to continually balance and stuff. And we'll talk about differences with the mod and why certain things are certain ways, but we'll also talk about the core game mechanics that are shared between the mod and the game, and let you guys know where they kind of differ. But the mod also adds a lot more strategical depth, so for those who are looking for a really strategical game, playing this game with the mod is a really cool experience. So the way we're going to start this is we are currently in character creation. We have our characters created. I'm going to give you a quick overview of how character creation works, and then I'm going to play the origin story of my character, because he is an origin character, which I'll talk about in a second, and then we're both going to discuss what our characters are going to do and how we're going to try and build around each other in the game. So first of all, character creation. If you played D&D, you'll know it's kind of similar to D&D, but not as much. It's not like a direct copy or anything. So there are two types of characters you can create. You have origin characters, such as mine, and you have custom characters. So custom characters are, as you would expect, a completely custom character. You can name them. You can select your own tags for them, which is like gives you different prompts in dialogue, for example, and sometimes open up new quests. Origin characters are characters that are already named. They have a backstory. They have their own custom tags. Like, for example, Sabille here is an outlaw and a scholar. You can't change that. You also cannot change their voice. Their voices are locked. So, but the advantage of an origin character over, let's say, a custom character is that an origin character has their own backstory. They have their own side story in the game, whereas a custom character will not have their own side story because they are a custom character. You can play, when you're actually in the game, you can get up to parties of 4. So even if you play a custom character, you can get origin characters in your party and then experience their side stories as you play with them. So even if you don't make a origin character, you can still experience the side stories of the origin characters, which is pretty cool. So you have quite a lot of freedom in how you build. So this is the generic origin or not. I'm going to be playing Beast, who's basically a pirate, and I'm just going to go ahead and play his origin story for you guys, starting now.
I was just thinking about someone I used to know. My cousin, the Queen, in fact. A tyrant. I tried to stop her, but things don't always go according to plan. She cast me out to a forgotten island, and made short work of my allies too. Lucky for me, I was able to commandeer a ship, and began a new life for myself, out on the high seas. Aye, but I hear that the Queen is at it again, and there's something darker behind our madcap schemes this time. If I don't stop her, I don't know who will.
Alright, so there's his origin story. Pretty cool. Pirate is related to the Queen, and you'll see a lot more stuff to do with the Queen as we get going into the story. Red is playing a custom character, and he's going to talk to you more about his character in a second. So character creation, just going through the rest here. I need to rechange a few things since when I switched characters, it moved a few things around, but I was originally going to go bald, change the hair color, one tone. There you go. So you can change your appearance. As I said, if you're playing a custom character like Red is, you can change your name as well and change your voice, but you're locked into the voice if you're playing an origin character. This is where it starts to get a little closer to D&D. You have starting attributes, starting abilities, starting skills. So you can edit these. For origin characters, they're usually set, and they're also set based on, well, actually, they're primarily set based on your build preset. I am set as a sword and board fighter. So by default, it'll give me strength and constitution, which I'm fine with. Now, in the base game, constitution is usually quite weak because of how armor works. And usually when you run out of armor, you can be dead anyways, even if you have a lot of constitution. But in this mod, constitution is actually a lot better because hard CC has effectively been removed with this mod. So I'm fine sticking into constitution and strength. And you'll note with this mod, each different thing, except for really constitution, each different attribute actually does does different things compared to the base game. Like in the base game, there is no power stat. It would be like if you got strength, then you would do damage with strength, more damage with strength-based weapons, for example. And finesse would be you do more damage with finesse-based weapons. But in this mod, strength gives you extra physical and magic armor as well as carry weight. And finesse gives you extra dodge and a chance to recover action points when you do basic attacks. But we'll talk more about this when we get in. You have your abilities. Your abilities allow you to unlock skills. You buy like skill books in the game to get skills, and your abilities determine whether you can use those skills and learn them and use them in battle. You also have your civil abilities. I'm going to start off by going bartering, I think. Where were you going to go, Red?
Telekinesis.
You're going to go telekinesis.
So I can be a spooky boy.
Okay. In that case, actually, I think I will go thievery, because thievery can be quite good.
I mean, you are a pirate, right?
That is good point, yeah. And I already have one in sneaking, so there you go. So yeah, I'm going to go thievery, change that around. But still 1 strength, 2 constitution, good for a tank. And taking a look at the skills I can get. Bouncing shield, yeah, all this stuff looks fine. I'm going to want this to give me physical armor, provoke to get targets off red, etc. There's also talents that you can choose. Talents are what you would expect. They are pretty big changes on gameplay that give your character very specific bonuses that aren't just stats. There's a lot. I'm not going to go over all of them here, but the one I'm going to be taking is Comeback Kid, so that if I fall to 0 health, I will come back at 30%. As I said, there's tags, which determine your stuff in combat, or sorry, your options in dialogue. But because I'm an origin character, they're defaulted to Barbarian and Noble, which is a kind of ironic pairing. But, alas. The last thing you can choose, which I think is really cool, is your instrument. And this primarily plays during combat. And my favorite is the cello. But yeah, so I'm going to be playing Sword and Board Fighter. That was the overview of what I'm going to be doing. Red, why don't you give an explanation of your character here?
So I am a custom human. I'm going to be a wizard. I typically don't roll like pure wizard. I'll go melee mage hybrid. So I'm trying it out this time. I'm just going to sit in the back line and throw fireballs and stuff at people. Should be fun. I'm starting with pyrokinetic and aerothurge, which is fire and lightning. And I'm taking telekinesis. So you can interact with objects in the world. And usually you have to be next to them to like move them. Like you can grab a barrel and toss it or something. Telekinesis increases that range drastically. So you can like grab something over like a wall or something. Over like a set of bars. Makes it, it gives you an interesting way to interact with the environment. And that's basically it for my character.
What talent are you taking?
I am taking Savage Sortilege. It lets me crit with spells.
Very strong talent.
Yeah.
For mages. And what tags are you going?
Mystic and Scholar.
Very nice. Yeah, so tags, as I said, kind of determine dialogue options. In some ways, they can actually unlock quests for you. There's not a lot of quests that are barred by origins, and because you can get other characters, like other origin characters to join you, it's not a huge blocker anyways, but Scholar and Mystic tend to be some of the most useful ones, especially Scholar. So having Red and I both have different talents is good, as it gives us a wider range of dialogue options and potential quests. And did you also choose the cello as your instrument?
I chose the flute, the bansuri.
Okay. Nice. Good pairing there. Although we won't be able to hear each other's instruments, so it doesn't really matter anyway. Alrighty, well, with that out of the way, let us go ahead and start the game, and you guys will see the opening cutscene.
It all happened like I knew it would. A single drop of source magic. And, like flies to honey, the monsters swarmed. The rebel panicked. The carnage began. And the magisters pointed their fingers at me. Just as I'd planned. I was shackled and collared and sent to Fort Joy. I'd come here to kill Godwoken. But instead I became part of their story.
Alright, there we go. Gotta love how every prison colony in existence in games is usually named something incredibly ironic. Like Fort Joy, Fort Sunshine, when it's clearly not.
It's some big Snow White vibes from that witch. She even had the apple.
That is true, yeah. Big Snow White vibes. Now we're strapped to a
Still a bit groggy, are we?
table.
Easy.
And this Magister's come to let us down after injecting us with a sedative, I believe, that knocked us out so she could put our source collar on. And you guys will hear more about source and stuff as we get going, but source magic is, as you got a hint of in the intro, a magic that attracts monsters. And so they've collared us so that we cannot perform source magic. And just as a note, source magic is different than standard magic. So Red's Fireball, for example, is not source magic. Alright, so let me check. Okay, my settings are good. So as you can see, the game presents a standard top-down view. You move around by clicking. When you get into combat, it becomes turn-based. Right now, everything happens in real time. There's no turns or anything. So you kind of have this section of, you know, move around, do whatever you want, and when you get into combat, it transforms into turn-based combat. This is the tutorial deck, so it'll kind of show us around, show us that we can, you know, kind of walk around and loot things. This thing is empty, but yeah, let's get moving. You can see Red telekinesis. Whenever he moves something that's relatively far away from him, you'll see that little blue line shoot out of his hand, and that represents the farther distance that he can move objects. Just like
Yeet.
that. Yeah, yeet.
Would you look at that?
You should unlock your inventory.
Oh, right. Yep.
I got a box for you.
Unlocking your inventory allows you to move things between inventories in multiplayer. When you're in single player, it doesn't matter because you have control over all your characters. But I'm going to go ahead and talk to the sheep. In the standard game, this is a talent called Pet Pal that you need to specifically spec into. But as part of the mod, they've given Pet Pal to everyone, strictly because Pet Pal is usually like a mod that's all about flavor and story and does not interact with combat like at all. So you kind of gimp yourself in combat if you take Pet Pal, and the devs didn't like that. So I agree with that decision. It makes it cool.
Her fluffy coat, the sheep eyes you balefully, her rectangular eyes like letterboxes to the void. With one sharp hoof, she kicks you right in the shin.
He kicked me right in the shin.
Fresh meat. Nice. Plump. Banded like a chicken's leg too.
Poke the sheep's ample belly with your toe. Remark that she's got more meat on her than you do.
So, but look at the flies.
Rude.
And wisdom. Flies know when a creature will die. And it's around your head they're buzzing, not mine.
Yeah.
With 2 shakes of her stumpy tail, the sheep turns away from you to peruse her hay-filled manger.
Well, we'll see about that. We got a bucket with water. Red, you don't want to put a bucket on your head? Some extra defense?
Maybe I do.
Cargo door key. Unlock the door. Alright, we got a letter on the table. Orders from the guard steward. Important! It's come to my attention, again, that several of you are bypassing the cargo hold security measures by sliding boxes onto the pressure plates. Sounds like what we need to do. This will not do. The purpose of these measures is to require the presence of at least 3 magisters at a change of shift. Any deviation will result in at least 1 magister getting thrown overboard. Make sure it isn't you, Magister C1. Oh, C1's the lady that unlocked us, right? I think.
Is it? I didn't look at her name.
I'm pretty sure it's C1. Yeah, here, the crate train coming through. Nothing in, like, any of these. Alright, there we go. And now, we're going to get a first look at surfaces and combat. So surfaces, very important aspect of this game. Oil surfaces, water surfaces, scorched/fire surfaces. They're normally fire surfaces, but in the mod, they're also called scorched. And then there's like poison surfaces and other things, and they can all be interacted with in various ways. Water can be electrified, so this guard is wet, and so he is going to get charged if we, for example, zap the water that's underneath him. Or if we were to light this oil on fire, the guard's going to go up in flames. So it looks like that's what they want us to do. Red, you want to do the honors?
Of course.
And there we go, except it didn't actually hit him.
And the guard's still asleep.
The guard's still asleep, even though half the ship's on fire.
Do you want me to zap him?
Yeah, zap him. Let's do it. And there we go. And this is going to show us an introduction to combat. So, combat in this game revolves around action points. You can see at the bottom of my bar here, I have 16 total action points, and I start with 12. In the base game, you have 8 total action points. You normally start with 4. However, in this mod, they also, by default, unlock you the Lone Wolf talent, which gives you +4 max HP, +4 recovery AP, and some other stuff when you are in a party of 2 or less. So as soon as we get a third person, that talent will be disabled. But basically, they double the AP you get in this mod, double the max amount, and also generally double the cost of AP. Like in the standard game, Fortify would cost 1, but in this it costs 2, and that way they can afford better balance. Because the more AP something could potentially cost, the more you can fine-tune it, like drop 1 or 2 or add 1 AP to it. So everything you can do in combat costs AP. I could put items down from my inventory. I could equip different items. I can move around, etc. Cast skills, and all of that is going to cost AP. So I think the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to get this guy to focus on me with my Provoke skill, which will taunt him. And when he is taunted, he will prefer to attack targets who are taunting them, and it is cleared by other stats such as Clear-Minded and Enraged. And then I'm going to go ahead and fortify myself to give me some extra physical armor. And physical armor means it'll block physical damage before damaging my health. Oh yeah.
I just shoot stuff. That's all I do.
That was pretty clean. Laboratory key. What about this guy? You want to talk to this guy, Red?
Let's see what he has to say.
Ah, freedom. Tastes better than wine. I'm nothing if not a man of my word. And I did give my word I'd set you free, lad. Say your
Did he,
prayers
though?
while
I don't
you
remember
drink
talking to
and
him.
speak them.
I've never met this man in my life.
Nope. And
He just saw us conjure like lightning and fire and like slay this guard. He's like, yeah, let me fight these guys.
he is brave. Alright, I'm gonna buff up. And there was a pop-up there that gave us a bit of a rundown of some of the things that Epic Encounters adds. So, as I mentioned a bit in the tutorial, Epic Encounters basically completely removes hard CC. So in the base game, what would happen is any magical effect or physical effect would be blocked by that relevant armor. So if I'm trying to bleed someone, bleeding is physical damage. And if they had physical armor, it would block the bleeding. Just like how Red has, like this character is charged, for example, now due to Red's air damage. In the base game, that would actually be blocked by magic armor. Now this guy doesn't have any, but in Epic Encounters, that's no longer the case. And effects like that are actually tiered. So you can see he's got these harried and battered stacks. And this is something completely new. And it helps replace the CC system. So harried or battered stacks, the way they work is every single time the target takes a type of damage, let's say physical damage for now. Every time they take physical damage equal to 7.5% of their max HP, they will gain a stack of battered. And if it's magical damage, they'll gain a stack of harried. And once they get up to 7 stacks, those stacks can be consumed to get a soft CC effect, not hard CC, so you can't completely take away their turn. And once they get a hard or a soft CC effect, such as here, you see Petrifying Touch, slowed 3, consumes 7 harried, target has reduced movement and AP recovery, and tiered statuses, as you can see underneath that line there, tiered statuses apply up to tier 3 and reduce resistances, and that's extremely important. So after you stack up, for example, 7 harried, and then I use slowed 3, for the duration that target has slowed 3, they have reduced physical resistances, because slowed 3 is a magical disabling effect. If they got 7 stacks of battered, and that was consumed by red, and let's say, well, I guess it wouldn't be red, but if I had like a crippling blow and I crippled them, I could consume those 7 stacks of battered, and they would lose their weapon for a few turns, so they could only like cast spells and move around and drink potions. They couldn't swing their weapon. But those, because they had that tier 3 physical status effect, they would be unable, or not, rather, they would not be unable, but they would have reduced magical resistances, and by a lot. So in the standard game, because effects were blocked by physical and magic armor, it was really bad to stack up a lot of, or to have, like, let's say 2 people and one of them's physical, one of them's magic, because then you're both working on different sets of armor. And your goal was to break one set of armor as fast as possible, CC them, and kill them. But in this game, or in this mod, having both guys so you can reduce resistances and stack up different tiered effects, so having a mix of physical and magic damage is much better.
So I'm going to ignite this poison.
And this will show off more of the surfaces here. And it also shows that there's more than one way to do things in Divinity Original Sin 2, as you would expect in most D&D style games. You don't always just need to unlock the door. You can blow up the door, you can attack the door, you can light the door on fire. And you'll see more of these choices as you go. And one of the cool things about this game is, no matter, yeah, that's one way of doing it, as B said. And one of the cool things about this game is a lot of the choices you can make don't necessarily have like you can do a lot of different things and they don't necessarily have game-ending consequences. Like I could kill a key ally just because I wanted to, or because I thought for a roleplay reason I wanted to, and even if I did that, it's fine. The game adapts to that situation. All right, to the top deck we go.
Let's go.
All right. Okay. I'm holding down Alt, by the way, if you're wondering how these names are popping up. We have a gold cup, good amount of money. Got a small tome. We have too long presumed source as a virtuous part of civil society, yet we need look no further into the past than the Source King's reign to understand the havoc such magics may wreak. One day another order must follow in the Source Hunter's footsteps. Sorcerers must be muted. The new model of Source Callers provided by Vreedamon is proving most effective. And keep that name in mind as we go, Vreedamon, because we may or may not see him in the future. Alright, let's go ahead and loot this stuff up.
I like how we're prisoners and we're just completely unsupervised and we're looting their entire ship.
I know, it's kind of funny, and she's just standing there, like, she's just sitting here watching us. She's like, oh yeah, you know, we actually left this stuff out for you guys.
We're like, stopped from using Source, but we can still use, like, regular magic.
Yeah, throw fireballs around, you know, who cares?
Ah, they're fine. They won't hurt anyone.
Maybe they sent that guard down there because they didn't like him. This is your punishment.
Even if I do say so myself.
Alright, Magister C1. Let's go ahead.
Not too tight, I hope. The collar, I mean.
She's got two
not
staffs.
to worry. Every
Two
dog
wands.
has to get used
Two
to
wands.
its leash.
Every dog has to get used to its leash. Yeah, okay, C1.
In the meantime, your next stop will be Magister William. All passengers have to be registered in the ship's manifest, and he's the chap in charge of the logs. You'll find him on the other side of this deck, in the officers' quarters.
Ah, and here is an example of Noble being able to use the Noble tag. Let's say now that you're up, you'd like to bathe and dine. Tell her to ring for the servants.
Oh dear, I'm afraid you're a long way from home, milord. A long way from the little bells that make footmen come a-running.
You just got malorded.
Well,
Index
okay.
fingers pressed to her lips.
She'll regret
She
that, I'm
pauses
sure.
a moment to give you a scrutinizing gander.
My word, you do seem a bit befuddled, don't you? Perhaps I was a bit too generous with that sedative.
Yeah, it is Magister C1, so she's the one that wrote that note.
Oh, well, I'm sure you'll soon gather your wits. Most likely. Eventually. In the meantime, all you need to know is that we're en route to Fort Joy. A new life awaits, and if you're a particularly good boy, perhaps a cure as well. An end to Source. For good.
Let's lean in and whisper that the Magister below deck suffered a fatal encounter.
She frowns and peers at you closely, resting the back of one hand on your forehead and taking your pulse with the other.
Delusions such as these are rare, but not unheard of. I recommend a cup of mulled wine and another night's sleep. Just take it easy.
So she just doesn't believe you?
I mean, he's the only one down there. I don't know why she doesn't believe us. But, yeah, let's just take our leave. I don't need to give her anything else to smile about.
You might be right, man. Maybe they're trying to kill him. He was unarmed. He just had those sick karate moves.
Spinning roundhouse kicks.
Gods, there's been a murder
Ew,
here.
there's been
Oh no, a murder!
The mess they made.
Who would do such a thing?
I know, I wonder why, you know. You want to talk to Magister Waters? And I'll listen in.
Burns me up this happened under our protection. We're extremely lucky no Voidwalker followed the source that did this. Finn didn't see it like that. He was desperate for us to help him. Two things scared the living daylights out of him. His own shadow and his own source. We'll find out who did this. Speaking of...
So they do care about murder, just not the poor guy below decks.
She looks up at you with a mirthless smile.
I was on duty in your room when the murder happened. You were asleep the whole time. Didn't even stir.
Oh man, she's a homie. She tucked us in.
You're one of the only indisputably innocent people on the ship. Unless you can commit murder in your sleep, of course.
Can we?
We could.
Not with that collar on you, Aunt. Listen, I could use someone to keep their ears open among the passengers. Sometimes they clam up in front of a uniform. Bring me a good lead, and I'll throw in a shiny gold coin for you.
A whole coin?
A whole coin? I found a cup that was worth 63 of those coins. Give me a break.
Not in here, it isn't.
Well,
You let me know
it was
if you
worth a
hear
try.
anything. Whoever did.
Our
I
price is
literally,
considerably higher.
I stole a skull off of the table when we got up here, and it's worth 30 gold.
And she's only going to give us 1 gold.
There was like 6 gold in the box, right by where we were kept.
She's going to tempt us with 1 gold. Our price is definitely considerably higher than that. Wow, look at all the nothing in these barrels. What the heck is this? Alright, but as we're getting to the main deck where we're going to see all the origin characters, we're hitting at about 30 minutes. So this is where we are going to cut the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope the explanations were useful. As we go, we're going to continue to give explanations, try and give them relatively slowly, not overwhelm you guys, but the first episode, you know, given this may be a new game for some of you, we wanted to kind of break things down so you'd have an idea of what was going on. But yeah, that is going to cut it for this episode, and we will see you guys in the next one. So I'd like to thank you all for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Cheers, guys.